Ah, yes. Welcome to another edition of the Pohl Position as we reach the midpoint of October. My favorite time of the year. It's autumn, and how do we celebrate today? With a very special guest. And no, it's not polar opposite Josh Aim. Josh, how are you today?
Good.
You doing good?
Yeah.
Well, I want to introduce
Why's your chair? Look at your chair.
What's wrong with my chair?
Well,
What's wrong with my... What'd you do to it?
it's turned. Look, it looks like nobody's sitting there.
You mean that? You mean this chair?
Other arm, yeah.
Who cares about that chair? I'm all excited to start this show. I'm in a great mood. I'm talking about autumn. I'm getting ready to introduce my special guest. And you care about here. Hold on. Hang on a second.
Hey, while you're over there, check to see if we got any emails.
We don't have time for email today.
Well,
We didn't
that's
have
how
time
we
for that.
stay on the
Do you
air.
feel happy now? Does the show feel like it's ready to
Yeah,
go?
looks better.
Because now the ratings will go through the roof.
Yep.
We got the chair fixed. So now, people, can I please introduce our
You're all
guest?
fired up already.
No, I was happy. This started nice. Everyone was happy. We were in a great mood. We got Matt, the brains behind this entire WDTN Plus show. And you're worried about a chair.
Let's get the applause ready.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, long time. Go ahead, Josh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Hutch Konerman.
Hutch Konerman joining us now on the Pohl Position.
Maybe we should. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cheesy sound effects. Yes.
We only do that for the best, Hitch. Or
So,
Hutch.
Hutch, you know, you've been a part of WDTN, TV2 Sports, and if you stay at it long enough filling in for Joey D and Kaylor Smith, you could actually outgain me in terms of years in the sports department.
Never outgain Brian Davis, though.
Wow, he doesn't count. He works like 2 days a week. I mean, I'm talking about, I'm talking about a full-time in the sports department. I mean, sports
I'm a little
only.
nervous, though, because years ago, a Channel 2 news director said, Hutch, whatever you do, just never embarrass the station. Well, that might change today.
Oh, my goodness.
Kind of like when you got Tressel fired.
Clearly, I did not
think that was
Clearly,
the
I
case.
did not get that advice.
No.
I did that. So, Hutch, we welcome you to the Pohl Position. You've been a part of the
Good to be here, I think.
Even I don't know. I tell people all the time. I don't know. Did you see my bobblehead?
Yeah, I did.
It's pretty nice.
I have one, too,
Yeah.
but had I known, I would have brought it.
Look how excited.
But see, mine was more formal. I had a little tie on
Yeah.
and
Well,
glasses.
mine doesn't even have the beard.
No,
That's an
true.
outdated bobblehead, Josh.
I can
True.
paint it.
Don't paint the beard.
You know, we
The
did have
game
we had a general manager here who thought that was Mike Hartsock.
That's true. A lot of people, people, you know, Hutch, you'll know that through my life, because now I'm much sexier, much
TV.
younger than Mike Hartsock ever was.
True.
But
And a better
What?
voice.
what? Okay, Josh, you made a noise there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm.
You both had great TV hair.
Had.
Yeah. Well, have.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, don't you
It's
think
pretty.
it's
It's pretty
I have
easy to
terrible
replicate.
TV hair.
How's my hair,
I have a
Hutch?
face for radio.
How's my hair?
And a
Always
voice
looks
for
good.
print.
You always look like you stepped out of a catalog, Josh. Right out of a catalog.
Yeah. Well, I have a hard time knowing the chronological order of my own life. So it's hard for me to keep track of anyone else. So how long have you been with Channel 2? When did you first start here? And then you left and came back.
Was 2003, right?
Okay, so that's a while ago. That's more than a
And
minute
I did
ago.
take a quick jaunt back to a certain station and then came back immediately after Guy Fogel retired.
Yeah. Well, he moved on.
Moved on.
He moved on. Hutch came in, and you were there ever since, and really, technically, haven't left. You left.
True,
Joey
I've
D
stayed
came
on
in to be the
part-time.
full-time guy, but
I say part of fill in once in a while, but
Yeah.
the older I get and the more technology that Josh brings to the station, then I get lost. And
I think you should have a show called Hutch's Heroes.
no, that would be encroaching on the Dragons radio bits I used to do. That Tom Nichols.
What about Hutch and
named it.
Such?
Hutch and Such. That would be good.
Hutch and Such.
Hutch
Could
and
replace
I got
us.
news for you.
But who would buy? I wouldn't have a co-host though.
Oh,
gotta have a
Josh would.
co-host.
Josh would find time to co-host the second show. He has no loyalty. He'd leave me in a second.
No, the Pohl position's going. I heard back from Pat McAfee. You know, we're doing that trade, me for AJ Hawk.
I tell you what, I'll do that trade right now. Hutch, what do you think
You know,
about?
you and AJ, a lot of the same athletic ability, I think.
Yeah,
Josh.
I think so. And Jack, that means you got to get up and dance on this thing if we're going to reenact the Pat McAfee show.
No, I'm not taking off my shirt. He does the same thing
So
every week.
Do you guys? What do you talk about normally?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, but, you know, we
Sports
talk a little
or
bit
no?
about. We do talk about sports because
One time I dressed up like Jack.
That's
Well,
true. One
Josh
time we
is-
did a live studio audience. One person was here.
Showed up. We gave live studio tickets, and only one person showed up. We read a lot of viewer emails. Dan Yohe.
Who else did
Dan
we have?
Yohe.
Dan
Blast
Yohe's a
from the
big
past.
viewer of the show.
Yeah, Dan
One of the
Yohe.
great photogs.
Jeremy
in
Erskine.
history.
Jeremy Erskine's a
Erskine
big,
emailed in.
yeah, he loves it.
Joshua Larrent.
Oh, you know
Email?
who?
Josh Laurent,
Steve
yeah.
Schmelik is a viewer, I believe. Another
Yeah.
photog.
So we are close to double digits of people streaming the Pohl Position.
And this
Hutch.
is the highest
and you're
rated
getting
show.
us over, and this is the
I'm
highest.
getting what show is this?
The highest rated show on
Oh,
WDTN.
I thought it was like a milestone, like 50th show or something.
No, it's
Yeah.
I think what is it, 14, 16, something
14.
like
There's
Well,
that number again.
that. There it is.
There's that number
So,
again.
What,
so
the
Hutch
Bengals
is-
are going to lose by 14 this week?
No, Pete Rose 14. You know, it was the 40th anniversary in September. September 11th was the 40th anniversary.
I
of the
was
hit.
there that night when I was
41-92.
there, and I remember because
Were you there as a fan, or
I
were
was
you-
there as a fan.
I was working at. I was
40
covering it
years
for
that even-
radio. If you
that
can
even-
believe it.
No,
That's how old I am. Yeah.
1492? Isn't that when we-
41-92.
Oh, I thought that's when
The
we
hit that
discovered
broke Ty
America.
Cobb's record.
1492.
So, Hutch, in your time in two sports, we worked together. We did a lot of great things. What do you remember most? I know you're just anchoring now, but when you were in the thick of it, when you were grabbing a camera, when you were going out in the snow, when you were
I do
going in the
remember
rain, when you were
there-
underneath the basket.
Here's another blast from the past. I remember at 7, Mario Barson, who was a weekend sports guy,
Yeah.
said, "You'll love it at Channel 2. You'll love Jack because they have more fun over there." And I didn't
Amen to
realize
that.
it until I was here shortly, maybe a week or two, and a certain general manager came out of the news director's office and said, "Hey, sounds like you guys are having too much fun back there." And Jack immediately said to him, "When fun is outlawed, only outlaws will have fun." And then I thought, wow, this is going to be a great place to work. So
that
there you
general
go.
manager, God rest his soul, by the way. When I said that, I said, you know,
Yeah, he
and
didn't
it-
argue.
He
He
went,
just shrugged his
He
shoulders
shrugged his
and
shoulders and
walked away.
he walked on. So, but you know, you look back and we had some good times in the two sports office. We had some crazy times, and but things have changed, haven't they? You know, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. Well, but Ohio State was always, you could always depend on them for a couple national championships. And then Jack, spring training many years. And I always had my same lines. And Mark Allen loved him. I'd say, Jack Pohl gets Goodyear, Arizona in March. I get Canton, Ohio in December. That's how we roll.
My favorite,
Because-
Josh.
And I was referring to the state championship games in Canton, which were always colder than you know what. But
And I would go to the nice, sunny, balmy Arizona national championship with Ohio State. So here it is. Ohio State loses the national championship. I believe they lost. Wasn't
that
LSU?
the year they lost
or no,
to
it was
Florida?
Florida?
the Florida.
when they had the run back.
to Florida.
When
Ted
Ted Ginn
Jr.
broke his leg or whatever.
He had the great run back and then
Yeah.
hurt himself in the celebration, right?
So I get my story done, and we're supposed to send this story back. Touch. This was back in the day before you did it over the
Sat
internet.
trucks.
Yeah, we had a SAT truck
We
that
were
we were
sharing-
borrowing from
We're sharing CMH.
WCMH in well, there was something internally going on at CMH, and they were on a bad mood because Ohio State lost. And I walk in having no idea because, I mean, we've been covering the Bengals and Reds, so we were kind of used to teams losing big games. So I go in there and I'm like, "Hey, Jack Pohl, Channel 2, getting ready to feed my," and they're like, "Yeah, you need to do it like right now, or we're closing this truck up and we are out of here." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to call Hutch." I said, "Call Hutch." And I said, "Hutch, you need to have the engineer who doesn't work here anymore." And I won't mention the name.
Retired.
And I said, "Hutch, you got to get to the engineer and you got to tell him to send right now because these people are in a really bad mood. They have no time for Jack Pohl." And I said, "Dude, you got to get this done now. I'm ready to feed. You got to get us going." So Hutch, what was that engineer doing that we could not tune in the live shot to get our story sent back for the Miami Valley to
We
see?
could not find the engineer, and finally we found out that he was in the bathroom. When nature calls, and Jack's like, "Dude, if he's not there. If we don't do it in a minute, we're not going to have a live shot, which obviously the station would have been too happy about. After all, that's why we sent Jack.
You know,
But,
and
thankfully, we made the deadline, but it's just Murphy's Law, right?
he is in the bathroom, and we can't get our shot off.
Right.
That is
but
one
Josh
of my...
can relate to that. Exactly.
All right, I guess we should talk about more current sports, and I'm going to start.
Hang on, Hutch. Remember when we were in Cincinnati with Sean Kreisman?
Was this when you guys were running up and down the bridge trying to get a signal?
Oh, no, that was an opening day, too.
Yeah, and Hutch was so mad.
But Sean Kreisman interviewed the girl who was blind who sang the national anthem.
Oh, that woman.
I can't think of her name now.
All I know is she.
Or is that what you're talking about when she said, woo?
Yeah, that was a good
It's
time.
like, how do you feel after saying she just said, woo?
She did like, I
was
think
from
the
Kentucky,
Reds
I
have
believe.
81 home dates. She did 78 of them.
And then my other favorite is he interviewed George Grand from ESPN fame, but who was a Reds TV guy. And, God bless Sean. He wasn't a sports guy per se.
He's big time
But he
now.
needed an interview. And I said, okay, this guy will be an easy interview. All you got to do is ask a question. He'll talk. You'll be great. And the first thing he goes, I'm here with Reds broadcaster George Grant.
Oh!
And that's how I felt. But God love George did not correct him.
Man.
Did the interview as like they were best friends. And afterwards, I remember going up to him and I said, George, I apologize. I said, he's a news guy. He's just like, don't even worry about it. I've been called a lot worse, and didn't care.
That's a class
Yeah,
act guy. Hey, you
yeah.
only know what you know.
But he's also the guy when we were doing the Reds Caravan at the Museum of the U.S. Air Force when they make their stop in Dayton.
Yeah.
That hugged Josh, and I snapped a picture of the two of them.
A lot of hugging him.
And
You
the
need
look on
president?
the look on George's face when he was like with Josh, we took a picture of it. It used to be on our wall of fame,
Ways to have that, yes.
which doesn't exist anymore, but.
No.
We had an eclectic mix.
How
in
many
the little
opening days
sports
did we
office.
go to, though? Me and you.
Quite a bit. I
remember the
God
one-
rest his soul, but our satellite truck guy, Bob Burtner, used to love those.
Well, we saw President Bush.
We
walk
did.
through.
And did you get to shake his hand? I shook his hand.
Yeah. And then we had the one
We
where
got a picture.
where we had to run across the bridge to send our package, and you were like, I'm not running. I'm not doing this. And I'm like, I'm running, Hutchie.
halfway across the Central Bridge.
And
to get
I'm
the
on the
signal.
other end of that phone, and Josh is out of breath. I can tell he's running. And
What happens in television, you just never know, right?
What is behind the scenes is absolutely crazy, but always a good time.
Then the saddest part, remember when we went down there when the Reds were up 2-0 on the Giants? And every day we were ready to
the
celebrate.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
They lost.
And we just kept thinking,
And then
okay.
we were standing there, and Jay Bruce got up with the bases loaded. And we're all standing in that
They
little
lost
huddle.
the first night. I forgot who picked. The second night, we're like, well, Johnny Cueto's pitching. This will be
right.
the night. And they didn't. And then the third game, it was an afternoon game. Matt Latos.
And Jay Bruce had the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth.
Right. And I'll never forget. And then, of course, how can we forget Josh was there for the All-Star game.
No, I
that
remember
year,
we was Camp
and
Josh when he
Camp
set up
Josh.
this
That
huge.
was
Remember how much it
tense.
rained and the storms we
with,
had before the game, the days
Look
before?
Live, Robert Lowry.
Yeah, we
Look
interviewed
Live
Snoop
Lowry.
Dogg, didn't we?
Did we interview Snoop?
I don't
know
know. I
we
don't
tried-
remember that.
We interviewed
Because we
he
went
was
on
there.
Sunday. We went on
Right,
Sunday for
But the funny
celebrity.
thing is, we interviewed Kirk Herbstreit. We interviewed Andre Dawson, I think.
Oh, okay.
We had a couple.
Bryce
who was the
Harper.
actor in one of those? What was his Hunger Games? The young actor that was there,
All right.
and the guy we tried to interview, and he didn't blow us off, but he, his
Blew us
child needed a diaper change. Was Andy Dalton?
Okay.
I couldn't get Andy.
Man, if you couldn't get Andy Dalton, the nicest
couldn't
guy in the
get
world.
it, right?
All right. Well, we are going to continue to reminisce a little bit and also talk about a little bit about today's sports, but we must take a break. You are streaming on WDTN Plus the Pohl Position with special guest Hutch Konerman, not Hitch Canterman.
All right.
That's not what I sound like at all. All right. We'll be back right after this. Ah, yes. Welcome back
Yes.
to the Pohl Position and maybe a foreshadowing of Hutch and Such, soon to be streaming on WDTN Plus.
What do we got to do to get that started?
One never knows. But can I explain the Hitch thing?
Yeah.
Can I explain that
Hitch
story?
Konerman?
So the first year Dusty Baker was manager, I went to spring training. It was Sarasota, and Dan Yohe went with me.
He's a big, he loves the show.
Yeah, well, and he did a great job, and we were interviewing Dusty Baker, right? And Dusty was very good. We had asked him the night before, and I thought, oh, gosh, this will be one where he forgets and blah. But he said, as he's headed out the field, he's like, oh, wait a minute, I got to do an interview with these guys. Well, then the next winter, I think he was at Wright State for their baseball fundraiser that they do. And when I went we did a live shot with him again, and I just said, reintroduced myself, and I said, hey, Hutch Konerman, I was spring training. He's like, yeah, good to see you again, Hitch. And I made the mistake of telling that story to Mark Schlemmer, God rest his soul.
Man, you're bringing up a lot of dead people today on this show.
But then, of course, Schlemmer.
We're close to Halloween.
Schlemmy, once he got on it, forget it. So then he always called me Hitch from there on out.
Well, you had a certain UD football coach.
But Hitch was a great movie.
You had a certain football coach. What was it? What did he call you?
He called me Hugh. And then
I just don't think Hutch is that hard to say.
Jeff Graham.
Well, his real name's not Hutch, though.
Jeff Graham, a great high school coach and legend. And
he's still coaching?
He used to call me Hooch. And Reggie Wilson, who worked over at 2245, thought that was the funniest thing. He'd be in the field and he'd yell, Hooch, I'll be right with you. And Reggie heard that, and so then Reggie always called me Hooch.
I may start calling you that.
And then I'm down at Bengals Media Day, and Bill Sagdenison introduces me to.
He never knew my. Every time he saw me, he said, "There come the Dayton boys."
Duke Tobin.
Oh, here come the Dayton boys.
He says to Duke, "Duke, do you know Dutch from Dayton?" Dutch from Dayton. You know Dutch from Dayton. So I would tell people, I'm like, I do not have a complex because I've been called every name but.
A rose by any other name, Hutch, would stink the same. Isn't that how that goes? Something like that.
But yeah, God love him, Rick Chamberlain for a while thought my name was Hugh. And
that's what 20 plus years.
So I do not have an identity crisis.
Is he our first Hall of Famer?
Who's that?
Hutch on the show. Hugh.
What?
Well,
OHSAA, right? You were inducted?
That was the Hall of Fame. That was just a media award.
It's a media award. You have two awards. No, he's not the first. I won that like in 1998 or something.
Right. That's why he has UD Arena.
At UD Arena with Chick Ludwig. I went in with Chick Ludwig.
Well, you know what? That's pretty cool. You went in with I can't even tell you who I went in with.
No, I didn't know those people. I was there that night.
You were there.
And it was weird because it was at Xavier. So at least mine was at UD.
Well, because they do it at the regional. And so that's now at Xavier as opposed to UD Arena.
Right. But things have changed. So, Hutch, we never get a chance. People see you always report the sports. You were on not too long ago, and you'll be on again here once the holidays get here. But we're going to start with the with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Hang on, you need this?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Can I clear my throat, please? No, I don't want your water.
So in the Channel 2 Fantasy League, I had to draft dead last. Now, you don't think it's a coincidence that the two other sports people...
it's totally rigged.
Kaler gets the number one pick, and I think Joey was 3.
Right.
Somehow
totally
Hutch
rigged.
was bottom dead last.
Rigged.
So I just thought,
although you're in the sports department.
Correct. So, but no, they're like,
But fill in, they throw you to the bottom of the heap.
I drafted last, but then, of course, you get a pick right in. And I thought, I'm not probably going to be any good, so I might as well get Joe Burrow, thinking he'd have the kind of year that he had. That was a kiss of death. As Jack Pohl used to say, if Hutch Konerman's coming one way, you best be going the other.
Amen to that. Amen. But the Bengals, though, this team is cursed. We got our two. I honestly think that's it. What we got out of Joe Burrow is what we got. I think that's it. We got our 2 AFC championships. We got a Super Bowl appearance.
Let's hope
that's
not.
Pretty good. Well, no, you got like 2 really good years out of Kenny Anderson.
But you do have to say that
it's
the game they played, obviously Flacco got better in the second half, but that catch that Jamar made was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. But the Bengals, they're awful. I mean, this team,
defense,
they have, and they're going to be the Jets' first win. I'm telling you that right now. Because everyone's like, oh, the Bengals, they'll beat the Jets. They're winless.
Well, who are the Bengals going to beat, though? They're going to beat somebody that nobody expects.
Maybe they beat the Steelers Thursday night.
Steelers. I think Tomlin is worried. You heard his remarks, right?
Yeah, about Flacco. He must be.
And it is funny because I thought the same thing. I thought, man, I thought that's taboo that you never give a player in season.
And it's not some backup quarterback. This guy literally started the Cleveland Browns' first 2 games. He was their number 1 guy. Right. And
I mean, I've always just liked him listening to his news conferences, but you have to wonder what the timeline is on Kevin Stefanski, with the Browns.
Right.
How, if he can survive. Because
I don't even know why he'd want to. I still think he's respected, but. And then, we're getting off on the Browns, but it's worth mentioning. And we had Woody, you remember Woody from the World Series, my brother Woody, and we had Bob on a few weeks ago, suffering Browns fans.
Oh.
We had them on via Zoom.
Good idea. Of
course, it was all screwed up for the first. You should have seen the first 5 minutes of the show.
It was awesome.
We never screwed up Woody at the World Series.
No.
We nailed that.
No, that was back in the day when things were a little. But anyway. I mean, for Baker Mayfield to literally be the consensus MVP through the first third of the season, I don't think anyone would agree with that. He is lighting it up. They're 5-1. He's tremendous, and the Browns threw him out like yesterday's trash.
And with the Ravens not doing so well, and Lamar, out of the of the mix. Baker could be up for MVP of the league.
Well, they're saying he'd win it today if the season. I think he's already there. It's going to be him, and if Mahomes keeps doing well,
I'll never forget why the Browns gave up on him the way they did. I don't understand.
Well, they wanted. I think the owner meddled, and they wanted Deshaun Watson. They wanted to make a big. They weren't willing to wait for Baker to be great.
But why would you take a guy that had sat out a whole year?
And you already know he's trouble. You already know he's a disgruntled type of guy. You already know he's trouble.
Right.
And they bring him in anyway.
What is the stat about how many quarterbacks the Browns have had since they came back into the since they were, the new Browns, if you will.
Right. At least the Bengals have hit on quarter. Even Andy, to say what you want, that man went to the playoffs his first 5 years in the league. I think only 3 quarterbacks.
We should have brought him back instead of Flacco.
Anybody. I
know
Joe Flacco looked good. Hutch makes a good point. It was pure luck, and that basically what you said. His second half was pure luck. He is throwing. That's what you meant. I'm reading between the.
What I said was
that's basically what you said. You said Flacco's the worst quarterback you've ever seen.
3 days of prep. Going into that game.
One of those was a walkthrough.
But I think bottom line is that line
is
doesn't
terrible.
Give anybody. So he's got to release the ball like split.
So why would you bring in a 40-year-old statue? And not, I'd have traded for Shador before. I would have traded for, and I know he's old too, but he still runs a little better than Flacco. I would have done Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. Either one of those guys sitting in the
Michael
Giants.
Vick.
See, this is every week. Every week I got to put up with this.
Yeah, Vick can run.
He's coaching now. He's a head coach now.
I would have picked up Vick and Eddie George.
Eddie George is not a quarterback. He's not a quarterback. Anyway, I'm telling you, if I were the Bengals, I'd trade Burrow to the Rams for as many picks as you can get and start over because it's over.
The Burrow jersey is the only jersey that's selling.
Joe Burrow's great. I want him to stay with the Bengals, but I don't think
they should have never signed Higgins. They should have taken
that.
But
you do have to worry: is he just want to? And I'm not saying
Hendrickson's the guy I would have gotten rid of. And look, he's already hurt. Go ahead.
No, just players that are bit by the injury bugaboo.
Right. Yeah,
you get rid of Higgins and you get him an offensive lineman.
Well, people act like the Bengals have tried. The Bengals I think the Bengals. You cannot say the Bengals haven't tried to protect Joe Burrow. Every year they sign people and everyone likes them, and then by 3 weeks,
maybe they need to find an offensive line coach.
Maybe. I don't know the guy. I don't even know who does it now. I don't do sports anymore. I'm just like a local jokel at the bar who looks at the Bengals and says, I honestly think that.
Well,
I think Burrow maybe like Boomer did late in his career. Of course, he went away and came back. But after he came back from the Jets, remember he led him to the playoffs. And maybe Burrow does something a little bit like that. But he spent all this money on their offense. There's no money left to do anything else. There's no money for offensive line. There's no money for defense.
But what did they spend all the money on?
How about Joe Burrow? How about Jamar Chase? How about
Hendrickson?
How about T. Higgins?
Get rid of him.
all of these guys cost a lot of money. And it's funny when teams like the Kansas City Chiefs say, oh, we're getting rid of Tyreek Hill and we're getting rid of whatever that guy the Bengals signed, their offensive lineman. They're smart, and but no, they're under the same problems that the Bengals are.
No, they understand they have a quarterback and they don't need two-name receivers.
I think that I think the Bengals tried an offensive line. I just think they failed. I don't think it was an effort thing. I don't think it was a money thing. The Bengals, I just think they have bad scouts, but Burrow's so beat up now, and so it's just, I hope he stays. I want him to stay. It's fun. He gives the only one with hope. But don't you just, it's funny, when I watched Flacco, or even more so Jake Browning, I never worried he'd get hurt. I never even thought about it. When I watched the Chiefs game the other night, I never thought about Mahomes getting hurt or you never even crossed your mind. With Burrow, every game I watch him, I'm like, oh gosh, he's going to get hurt. And sure enough,
he's also taking some shots.
All I can say is thank goodness for Josh's Buckeyes. We've at least got the Buckeyes, right?
Okay, tell me their signature win, because we go through this every week.
Josh's Buckeyes.
The Texas stinks. Okay,
Josh is too busy texting somebody.
Oh, he spent all of last week playing Candy Crush during the show.
So the Bengals are 25th in money spent.
Okay, that's not 32nd.
Well, that's not even a top half.
But, just briefly touching on, I'm jumping all around here, but the Reds with their brief playoff appearance, but as somebody said, like, Shohei's paycheck is probably bigger than the entire Reds payroll.
Correct.
So, how do you beat that?
You do have to spend money. It's going to get to a point where someday, Josh, your Buckeyes are going to spend more than the Bengals on their roster.
Well, yeah. And
that may not be far away. Maybe that's happening now. I don't know, but it's.
And I could be wrong here, but I think in 2027, baseball's headed for another.
Correct, because they want to put a salary cap on it.
Well,
but they should.
How are you going to survive if you don't? Now, we could see that the Brewers might be an exception this year.
Hopefully, if it's the Brewers and the Mariners in the World Series, although I think the Dodgers are going to win it all, so the money's going to win.
I'm guessing your son Jackson is all about the Mariners.
All about the Mariners.
He was all about Washington, and the Buckeyes came
Jackson
in.
must have bad ankles because he jumps from so many teams. It's crazy, but.
So hang on.
In case Jackson watches this, I'm
sure he's tuned in. Especially
and the Bengals have the 8th most cap space, so they don't spend money.
No, they don't. That's pretty bad. That's
what I was looking up.
All right, well,
go Bucks.
And the Buckeyes don't play anybody. They don't play anybody.
Penn State,
and they're not going to.
Penn State.
Think about it. They're only big game left on the schedule. Well, 2 big games left on the schedule, and both are. Did they play Indiana?
No. Not this year.
So they don't play anybody. Texas, complete losers.
They just
don't play
beat
them.
Oklahoma.
Wisconsin stinks, complete losers.
How long do you think before Luke Fickell is gone at Wisconsin?
End of this weekend. I think Ryan Day delivers the knockout punch. Because they need to get ahead on these coaches. They need to get ahead on these recruits. You've got to fight. If
and that's a situation where you think, again, I think you do things for personal reasons. I don't begrudge him for taking that job, but at the same time, you're like, man. If you stayed at UC, you'd probably be there as long as you wanted.
Good. They just,
but they don't. They are. Yeah, they're ranked.
They're 5-1,
and they're one pass away from being undefeated. They could be like 14th in the country.
You have to remember what Fickell did there. Unbeaten team.
He did. He did it pre-NIL. He did it all pre-NIL.
And the first, big conference to make it.
He couldn't have known what NIL was going to be, and there's no way Wisconsin can compete with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Who else? Oh, Oregon.
Penn State's doing a great job.
USC even. You're already.
What about your good friend Marcus Freeman? Does he take the Irish back to the playoffs this year?
Yes.
Yeah, why not? Because you don't have to beat a good team in college football. You can go 0-2. I love Marcus Freeman, but you can go
I'm trying to get James Franklin to join the show. He's free.
Jack.
He loses his only 2 games he'll play against ranked teams. Well, I guess USC's ranked. And then that's it.
But, before Kirk Herbstreit jumped on it, Jack was way ahead of his time. You've been calling for central scheduling of college football forever. And finally last year, Kirk Herbstreit threw it out there. And I thought, Jack beat him to it.
You can't have a fair playoff system when teams just have their schedule be complete jokes. And other teams have really tough schedules. You can't do it. We're out of time.
Are we?
The music, Matt. I think we're way past time.
Get the hook out.
We may be cutting into who knows what. Under the umbrella.
Well, it was fun. Fastest 20 minutes in
we're going to tape another one
or whatever
right after this with you on it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for joining the Pohl Position. Have yourself a great week, everybody. We'll do it again next week.